Hello everyone. I welcome you all for the session 1 of Unit 5 Memories and Programmable Devices of the subject Digital Electronics for the third semester. My name is Ishwar Kumar Nirale, working as lecturer in Government Polytechnic, Mudod. So today in this session, we would be discussing the definition of the memory terminologies. Later on, we will discuss some multiple choice questions. What is memory? So memory is just like a human brain. It is used to store data as well as instruction. The computer memory is a storage space in the computer where the data to be processed as well as the instructions required for processing are stored. So this is very analogous to the human brain. So as the human beings keep the log of an event in their brain, in the similar manner, the computer, it stores the data as well as the instruction logs in its memory. Let us discuss the memory terminologies. Very first one, cell. Memory cell is a device or an electrical circuit which is used to store a single bit information. So as we know that the cell, it is going to store a single bit information. So it can be a logic 1 or it can be a logic 0. Typical examples of memory cells, they include flip-flops, capacitor, as well as if it is a magnetic type of memory or magnetic disk or magnetic tape means, so the magnetic spots, they indicate a single bit storage or which can be treated as cell. Next one is the memory world. The memory is organized into locations. Each memory location is known as a memory world. The number of bits in each word is often referred as word length. The word length can be or it can vary from 4 to 64 bits. As you can see, whenever we speak about a computer, you can tell the word length to be 32-bit word length or 64-bit word length. It indicates that how many number of bits are stored in each memory word. So next one is about the units. How do you tell the capacity of the memory? There are two units basically, the byte as well as nibble. First we shall see the definition of byte. Byte is a term which is used to represent group of 8 bits. The group of 8 bits together can be referred as byte, and it is the fundamental unit that will specify the size of the memory. So byte is a group of 8 bits. So if you take or if you represent a group of 4 bits, or you can say half of a byte, that can be termed as the nibble. Byte is a group of 8 bits. 8 ಬಿಟ್ ಇಂದ ಒಂದು ಗ್ರೂಪಿಗೆ ಬೈಟ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೆದ್ರೆ ಅದರ ಅರ್ಧಪ್ಪ ಅಂದ್ರೆ 4 ಬಿಟ್ ಇಂದ ಒಂದು ಗ್ರೂಪಿಗೆ ನಾವು ನಿಬ್ಬಲ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. Next one is the memory capacity. So memory capacity is the number of bits that can be stored in the memory device. It will tell the capacity, how many number of bits a memory can accommodate it into. So it is expressed as m cross n. So it is very similar to your matrix where m represents the rows and n represents the columns. So m is the number of words or you can say memory locations, and n is the number of bits per word. So this is very analogous to your matrix where m can be represented or m can represent the number of rows present in the matrix and n can represent the number of columns that are present in the a particular memory location. So here the total capacity can be expressed as m cross n. So there are few units which can be used to refer the capacity of a memory. Very first fundamental unit is the kV, 1 kV. 1 kV will be equal to 2 to the power of 10, which is equal to 1024 bits. Next one is 1 MB. 1 megabyte. 1 megabyte, that is equal to uh, 1024 kilobyte. 1024 kilobyte, that is equal to 2 to the power of 20. Next, 1 GB. 1 GB, that is equal to 1024 MB. And 1 TB, which is equal to 1024 GB. So here, so nowadays you will be getting the RAMs of the order of size GBs, and you will be getting the uh, hard disk, or you can say you will be getting the SSD. SSD means static devices. So you will be getting the secondary storage device in terms of terabytes. Next one is the bit density. So bit density is the number of bits stored in the given amount of space. Means in the given amount of space, how many number of bits are stored. So that will be indicated by the bit density. So if we say, when we say that one memory device has greater density than another, means it means that that device that can store more number of bits in the given amount of space. So if you say the memory is a bit denser means it is able to, or it is capable to store more number of bits in the given amount of space. Next one is the memory address. So to provide easy access to any word in the memory, a distinct address is associated with each word location. Here, the address is a number that identifies the location of the word in the memory. And remember, each word stored in the memory device has got an unique address. Unique address means every address will be different from each other. Okay. And here in the figure you can see here a memory consisting of 4 words, that is word 0, word 1, word 2 and word 3, which are arranged in 4 locations, 4 different memory locations. These can be accessed by a 2-bit address, 2-bit memory address. With 2-bit memory address, I can have 4 different unique combinations that may range from 00 to 11. The 00 is the memory address which is used to access the word 0 location. 01 is the unique address which is used to access the word 1 location. Similarly, if we go through the last one, that is 11 is the unique address which is used to access the last word, that is word 3 location. Next one is the memory read operation. So memory read operation is the operation whereby the binary word stored in a memory location is retrieved and then it is transferred to the another device. So another device means here we can, once the memory content is read, means the data can be stored in IO device or it can be stored in the another memory device or in some storage area. So here the read operation can be done in the following process. So here very first one is the address is placed on the address bus. So as you can see here, here the first thing is the address 011 is placed in the address register. So this is the register which is going to hold the address information. The same content is transferred to the address bus. Here the function of address bus is to carry the address information. So that is the first step where the address is placed on the address bus. 011 is the address and that is placed in the placed on the address bus. Next thing is the controller will issue a command, read command. Controller will issue a read command through the control bus. Here the function of control bus is to carry the control signal information that are sent by the controller. So once the memory is issued with a read command, then whatever the information that is stored in the given address, that is in the address 3, so which is shown in the yellow color here, this is the information, that is 0 followed by 1s. So this is the information this information is read, and once it is read, the copy of the data is placed on the data bus. It's copy. The same information is copied on the data bus, and from the data bus it will further move into data register. From the data register you can copy the data into an IO device. You can transfer the content to some IO device, or you can transfer to some other peripheral like memory. So you can transfer the content to a memory or any peripheral devices. So this is how read operation is done. Here the function of data bus is to carry the data information. So like this, the bus is nothing but this is a line which runs through or which runs between the CPU and the peripherals like memory and IO device. The address bus, it will carry the address information. The control bus, it will carry the control information, control signal information, and the data bus, it will carry the data information. All together can be referred as system bus. So like this, the system bus that is used in the memory read operation. Similarly, the next one is memory write operation. So memory write operation is an operation whereby a new word is stored in the memory location. Whenever a new word is stored or new word is written into a memory location, it replaces the word content. It replaces the whatever the word content that was previously stored there, that will be erased, and a new word is stored in that place. So how it could be done? So very first thing is, here also the data write operation is done in the following process. Very first step is, here also the address is placed on the address bus. So 011 is again the same address. This is the first step. After that, the data that is to be written into the particular memory location, so that is written on the data bus. So here 0 followed by 1, so followed by 1s. So this is the information which we want to write in the selected memory content, selected memory address content. So once the data is written onto the data bus, very next thing is the controller will issue a write command. So this is the command which will be carried forward through the control bus. And now once the controller issues this command, then whatever the data that is on the data bus will be written into the selected memory address. So whose address information is in the address bus. So this is how the memory write operation is carried out. Next one is a very important thing, that is memory access time. It is an useful measure of the speed of the memory units. So it is the time that elapses between the initiation of an operation till the completion of that operation. So actually the memory access time, it is an useful measure to or it is an calibrate to measure the speed of an memory access. Speed of the memory. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇದರ ಅರ್ಥ ಏನಪ್ಪಾ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಒಂದು ಮೆಮರಿನ ರೀಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ಮೆಮರಿನ ರೈಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತಪ್ಪ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದರ ಎಕ್ಸೆಸ್ ಟೈಮ್ ನಿಂದ ಎಷ್ಟು ಸ್ಪೀಡ್ ಆಗಿ ಇದು ಆಪರೇಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಯೂಸಲಿ ದ ಮೆಮರಿ access time is expressed in seconds. So it is expressed in seconds. So if you say that a memory access time is less, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದರ ಅರ್ಥ ಏನಪ್ಪಾ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, so that has an faster access ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ. If a certain memory needs more access time ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದರ ಅರ್ಥ it is kind of a slower memory ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ. So ಒಂದು memory fast ಇದೆ ಅಥವಾ slow ಅನ್ನೋದಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ, so this memory access time it will play a major role ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. So next one is volatile memory. Volatile memory is the memory which retains the information as long as the electric power is on. ಸೊ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದರ ಅರ್ಥ ಏನಪ್ಪಾ ಅಂದ್ರ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಇರುತ್ತೋ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅದು ತನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ನ ಹೋಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರುತ್ತೆ. ವಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ಸ್ ಇಫ್ ಸಡನ್ಲಿ ಪವರ್ ಗೋಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಆರ್ ಇಫ್ ಯು ರಿಮೂವ್ ದ ಪವರ್ ಸಪ್ಲೈ, ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ದ ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ that is stored in the memory will get erased off. So it gets erased off. That's why it is referred as volatile memory. So as its content is available on it on a temporary basis. So here this can be also called as a temporary storage. So next one is the non-volatile memory, which is exactly opposite to that volatile memory. Here the information is stored even if the electric power is turned off. In the sense, if you manually switch the power off, or if the power goes off automatically, then also the content or the information that is available in the memory, non-volatile memory, will not be erased. So it is a kind of permanent storage anta ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. That is the difference between volatile and non-volatile. So you can give an example of RAM as an volatile memory, where you can give an example of ROM as the non-volatile memory. So next one is the random access memory. So here random access memory, it is a kind of internal memory of the CPU which is used to store the data and the program result. And here RAM, as I told you, RAM is an volatile memory. It is a kind of volatile memory, means the data stored in it will be lost whenever the power goes off, or whenever you remove the power supply, or during the power failure. Whatever the content that is stored in the RAM will get erased off. So why it is called as random access memory? Because here the access time is the same for all, its access time is same for any address in the memory. ಇದರ ಅರ್ಥ ಏನಪ್ಪಾ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, let's say this is a memory. Let's say this is the first location. Let's say this is the nth location or the last location. So whenever we want to access any word content or any location content or any address here, so irrespective of their position, the access time will be same. Access time will be same in the sense the time it requires to access the first location will be same for the time it takes to access the last location as well. So that way, so every memory location, it will be having a same access time. So for that reason, so RAM is a faster memory anta helbodu. In RAM, the access time is same for any address in the memory. Means first location ಎಷ್ಟು ಟೈಮ್ ತಗೊಳುತ್ತೆ access ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, last location ಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಟೈಮ್ ತಗೊಳುತ್ತೆ. And the memories are accessed in the random fashion, not in the sequential fashion. That's why it is called as random access memory. Next one is the sequential access memory, or it is abbreviated as SAM. It is a type of memory where the access time is not constant. You should point out the difference here between the random and sequential access here. So in random access, the access time was same irrespective of the location of the address. But here the access time is different. Access time is constant. Access time is not constant. It varies, depends upon the address location. If the address location is available at the initial time itself, then it will be accessed in a faster rate. If the address location is at the last position, so it takes more time. So a particular stored word is found by sequencing through all address locations until the desired address is reached. This results much longer access time than the RAM. Let's say if you want to access the last location here, in case of SAM, if you want to access the last location andaga, so controller will not directly go into the last location. Instead, it will sequence through each of these locations one by one. First, it will try to access it will try to search for the first for the content in the first location. Then if it fails, means it will try to look for the same content in the second location. Like this, it sequences through all the locations until the desired address means the last address is reached and the last content is found. So it has to sequence through all the location. That's why it takes more time. Next one is the read-only memory. So as the name itself indicates, this is a kind of memory, or it is abbreviated as ROM here. ROM means read-only memory. As it is a kind of memory, or it is a non-volatile kind of a memory. So which which has got an ability to hold the data even the power is turned off. So even if you remove the power, or if the power automatically goes off, means then also sorry, then also it retains the data or the instructions that are stored in it. So general versions of the ROM can be programmed only once, and that is programmed by the manufacturer only. Means during the manufacturing processes, the manufacturer will decide what should be the content of ROM. This was the previous case, that are nothing but the general versions of ROM. But nowadays in market, so you will be availed with certain ROM versions like EEPROM, EEPROM. So where the user has got an provision to write the content as many as the number of times he want, and to erase the content also as many as the time he wants. Means he can edit the content of the ROM memory as well. So nowadays in the market those versions are available, and it is a kind of non-volatile memory. We will discuss in detail about the different versions of the ROM in the later on sessions. Next one is the static memory. So as the name itself indicates, static. Static means it doesn't need a memory refreshing operation or rewriting operation here to hold the data. So in static memory device, the stored information is retained as long as the power supply is on. This is a version of RAM ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಪವರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೋ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. There is no need of periodically rewriting the data into memory. So we may not need to rewrite the information. That rewriting information is nothing but ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಏನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, memory refresh ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. So static memory devices usually they are implemented using inverters or you can say the transistors. The transistors, they won't lose their content or they won't lose their content until the power supply is on. So in that sense, we may not need to rewrite the information again and again. Until the power is on, the information will be retained, no problem. But there is another kind of RAM version is available, that is dynamic memory device. This dynamic memory device, they will lose their content in a very short period of time, even though power is on. Even though power is on, power on idru kuda, they will lose their content. So it needs a periodic rewriting of data. Means a memory refresh operation is must to retain the information in the dynamic memory. The user has to rewrite the content into it again and again. Why? Because the dynamic memory devices are usually implemented using capacitor. The capacitor, it has a property to discharge itself after prolonged use, or you can say after a certain period of time. So the capacitor has got a property to discharge itself. So that's why the user may need to periodically rewrite the data to make the content available in the dynamic memory device. So we will see these two operations in detail while discussing the different versions of the RAM. Next one is the main memory. So it is also referred as a computer's working memory, and it stores the data and instructions the CPU is currently working on. Here the main memory is used by the computer in executing the programs. The memory should be able to respond fast enough to match the execution speed of the CPU. CPU usually it will be working in a faster rate. We expect the main memory to match with its speed, because So here, obviously, so to match its speed, for that reason, so usually main memories are implemented using RAM. So whenever, let's say, we will give an example. Let's say you want to use a product of MS Office. Let's say if you want to edit a document. So usually the MS Office software will be stored in a secondary memory like hard disk. So whenever you click and open in your computer, so immediately that version or that software is copied into main memory, because now the user is currently working on the MS Office, means from the secondary memory it is copied into main memory. So like this, the main memory that is used to store the data and instructions that CPU is currently working on. So here, since there is a speed mismatch between the main memory and CPU, usually CPU is working in the faster rate compared to the main memory. In order to avoid this ambiguity, or in order to match up the speed of the main memory with CPU, a new concept is introduced, which is nothing but cache memory. A cache memory is a small and the fastest memory that is inserted between the larger, slower main memory and the CPU. So CPU here, it is working in the faster rate, whereas the main memory is somewhat slow. So in order to match up the speed, or in order to avoid the ambiguity in the speed mismatch here, a cache memory is inserted in between the CPU and main memory. Usually the cache is a small memory. Small memory ಅಂದಾಗ obviously ಏನಾಗುತ್ತಾ, it has got the less access time, or you can say it is faster in operation. Usually the access time required for the main memory, if it is around 80 nanoseconds, then I can say the cache memory, it needs only a 15 to 20 nanoseconds. So such a higher speed of or I can say such a low access time they need. That's why you can say they are faster in action. The last one is the auxiliary memory. Auxiliary memory is nothing but it is also called as the secondary memory ಅಂತನೂ ಕರಿಬಹುದು. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಹೆಸರು auxiliary memory is also called as mass storage memory ಅಂತ ಅಥವಾ secondary memory ಅಂತ ಕರಿಬಹುದು. So memory size is used here, the capacity will be more. So it is always a non-volatile memory. So as earlier I told you, non-volatile memory in the sense they won't lose their content, or they will retain their information even though power goes off, and they operates at much slower speed than the main memory. So obviously if the size or the capacity of the memory is huge andaga, it needs more time to access a particular world location, and it stores the program and data that are not currently being used by the CPU. As I told you, as I given you an example, so whenever you are working on the MS Office product, let's say you want to edit a document andaga, so if you don't click and open a product from the MS Office andaga, usually it will be stored or it will be available in the secondary memory. Once you click it, or once you click and open it, then that will be a copy of that will be made available in the main memory. So all by default, all programs and instructions are usually stored in the secondary memory. Whenever they get activated, or whenever you click and open them, a copy of them will be copied into main memory. The information is transferred to the main memory whenever computer needs it. The same thing is written here. The common examples are nothing but the magnetic disk or magnetic tape, or you can say hard disk anta helbodu, or you can say the compact disk, that is CD. So this is all about the memory terminologies. So before getting into the memory in brief or in detail, so we should be familiar with all these terminologies. Let us discuss some multiple choice questions one by one. So as soon as the option appears here, the students can pause the video for a moment and they can think of the answer and try to answer the questions. A storage which stores or retains the data after the power off is called as I told you. So this will be a non-volatile memory. non-volatile memory, as the name itself indicates, they are used to store their data or the instructions even after the power goes off. So the answer is non-volatile storage. Which of the following memories must be refreshed many times per second? The options are secondary memory, static memory, dynamic memory, and none of the above. So here, which memory needs a memory refresh operation? As I told you, the dynamic memory, so since it is implemented using capacitor, so which has a property to discharge itself after certain period of time, so that's why the dynamic memory is the answer, which needs to be refreshed again and again to retain the data in it for the longer time even though power is on. The third question, a permanent memory which holds the data and instructions for the startup of the computer and does not erase the data after the power off. The options are network interface card, or you can say NIC card, B is CPU, C RAM, and D is ROM. So here, startup, the instructions for startup are nothing but boot program ಅಂತ ಕೂಡ ಕರಿಬಹುದು. So this is the program which will run whenever you boot your CPU. Every time whenever you boot your CPU, the OS has to be loaded. So in which location, from which location the OS program is stored. So ಅದನ್ನ ಹೇಳೋದು ಎಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ ಅಂದ್ರ starting instructions ಅಂತ ಇರ್ತಾವ. All those starting instructions or boot program is usually stored in the option D, that is ROM. The fourth one, this is about the unit of the memory capacity. A half byte is also known as A data, B bit, C half a byte, and D is nibble. Half byte is also known as nibble, which is nothing but group of 4 bits. The fifth question, main memory of the computer is option A internal, option B external, C both A and B, and the option D is auxiliary. Obviously the main memory is nothing but an internal memory. The main memory is also called as, or it is implemented using RAM. Okay, the sixth question, when we work on any document on PC, it is stored temporarily on option A RAM, option B ROM, and option C CPU, and option D is flash memory. As I told you, let's say if you are not working on any document, means that will be made available in the secondary storage, that is your hard disk or magnetic disk. But when you click and open it, that copy is temporarily available on RAM. The answer is RAM. Seventh one, which of the following medium is used between CPU and RAM to speed up the processing power of the CPU? Option A virtual memory, option B DRAM, option C flash memory, and option D cache memory. As I told you, a CPU, it will work in the faster rate compared to the RAM. So in order to match up the speed, and new memory is inserted between CPU and RAM, which is nothing but the definition for cache. So cache, usually it will be having a less memory storage. That's why it is faster in action. Question number 8. The main memory works in conjunction with RAM, CPU, graphics card, and LAN. This is a question that is repeated here. The main memory always works in conjunction with CPU, which is collaborated with the cache memory as well. The term memory, ninth one, the term memory applies to which one of the following? A logic, B storage, C control, and D input device. The option is, as I told you, this is a kind of storage. Memory means storage. Question number 10. RAM stands for option A random origin money, Option B, random only memory. Option C, read only memory. And option D, random access memory. So RAM stands for random access memory. The option D is the answer. Question number 11. Which statement is valid here? So this is about the memory capacity as we discussed. 1 KB equal to 1024 bytes. 1 MB equal to 2048 bytes. 1 MB equal to this is about 10,000 kilobytes. 1 KB equal to 100 bytes. Obviously, the answer would be 1 KB equal to 1024 bytes. 12th one, cache memory has greater capacity than RAM, is faster to access than CPU registers. Option C is permanent storage, and option D, faster to access than RAM. Remember, as we told the definition of cache memory, it is faster in action, but it is not as fast as the CPU register. So it is faster than RAM. That's why it is inserted between the RAM and the CPU to avoid the ambiguity in the speed mismatch. So the option D is the answer. It is faster than RAM, but it is not as fast as CPU registers, because the register storage will be still lesser than the cache memory. So this is all about the multiple choice questions. So with this, I want to conclude the first session. I thank you, subject moderator Uma Maheshwar sir, and subject expert Lalita madam, and my colleague Sriti G, GPT Harapnadi, and myself Ishwar Kumar Nerade. I thank you one and all.